Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm taking a look at the Hot Toys Luke Skywalker Deluxe version 6 scale figure from Star Wars The Last Jedi. Let's see how he turned out. Alright, first up as always, the packaging. And you can see that it's pretty much everything we've come to expect. You've got that nice chromium look going on with the logo, the name of the character, the movie that he's from. Great photography of the figure itself right there on the front. That pattern follows itself all the way around to the back of the box where, again, as you see here, we have a little bit more photography of the figure itself. Looking good, looking solid, but as always, what we're really wanting to see is what's on the inside of the box. So let's rip this guy open and see what it looks like on the inside. Alright, here he is, Luke Skywalker Deluxe from Episode 8, still in his box, exactly the way it's going to come to you, except that I've taken the liberty of removing all these plastic pieces, as you can see. He has a nice number of hands, pretty much everything that you're going to need for this character with all that he did in the film. Porg. Who doesn't want a Porg? That's a really cool thing to have. The fabric on this cloth is really downscaled nicely. Really digging it, but the really pièce de résistance on this is the portrait. I mean, look at that. That is some high quality stuff. I can just see Mark Hamill's wrinkles here. Every little bit of texture seems to have made it onto the figure. A nice array of weapons, including the weather vane that he snatched to do battle with Rey. His lightsaber, which he never uses in the film, but hey, it's kind of cool to have anyway. You can do some really crazy Elseworlds kind of things with that. Also see that he has his walking stick. That's pretty much par for the course for Hobo Luke. Has a little musical instrument here, similar to Yoda's, I believe. And this guy right here, which is, we'll get to that later on. Exclusive elements include this orange backpack. I believe this bag came with the regular version of the figure, but this pretty much is what makes up the deluxe, and also I think the winged Porg. Can't get enough of those. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I may just go ahead and follow up and get a Rey from this movie as well. Cool stand there with some Millennium Falcon art. I believe there's another just bear stand beneath it. And this, of course, is his cloak. Look at that. Again, fabric that downscaled really, really well. Can't wait to get that in photography. All right, but I think at this point what we really want to do is get the figure onto the table and pose it. Okay, so here we go. We've got Luke out of his box. Now, before we can really do anything with the posing, there's quite a bit of dressing of this figure that we've got to do, which brings up kind of something that I wanted to discuss when it comes to figures like this. Whether or not you're a fan of the portrait of a figure, and by the way, this portrait is amazing, just look at it. You have to admire the accessories that come with a figure such as this. The deluxe figure accessories spreads, I mean, they're just something to behold, but enough about that. I can talk about that later, I suppose. There's some dressing involved with this figure that includes this bag, this poncho, Luke and his ponchos, backpack that comes with the deluxe and the deluxe only, stick, his little instrument here, if you want to do something with that Porg. All these, each one of these tiny little tools has a specific place that it has to go in that backpack. So fortunately we have our instructions here that will help guide us through that. I want to talk about this for a little bit though. This is a Jedi compass of some sort. Luke allegedly picked it up, according to the literature. Luke picked it up at some Sith temple somewhere. I'm not really too clear on exactly what the details are, but this was originally meant to be in an early version of the film, and it was teased that it was going to feature prominently in it. What wound up happening, it was cut back to a very, very brief appearance in one of the flashback scenes, or all three of the flashback scenes, when Ben reaches out with the Force and grabs his lightsaber to defend himself from his imagined attack by Luke. You can see it sitting on the table, open like this. You can just see the little blue thing, and then this little case sitting open here like that. It's really just kind of a cool nod that actually made the cut of accessories for this figure. But putting that aside, let's go ahead and get his apparel to where it's supposed to be. First and foremost, we need to get this jacket off of him because this bag is going to go underneath the jacket. Not sure why anybody would wear a bag under a jacket, especially under two jackets since he's got a poncho, but that's what Luke does in this film. So, jacket's off. You saw how I did that. Pull the arms back and it just slides right off. Then you're going to want to raise this arm up. Now, the bag is not symmetrical. So you have to sort of, to figure out which side to go on. Like, see how you imagine it hanging at his side there and draping over his shoulders? If I were to do it this way, it looks like this would be popping up. Let me just double check to make sure. Yes. You see how that falls over and it looks like this top of the strap is going to lay flat across his shoulders? That's where you want it. You don't want it here where it's just going to be riding up. It's going to be obnoxious. So let's just go ahead and pull that over his head. Make sure that the hood goes through the middle of it as well. And there. Tug it down. Make it fall natural. Bring, well, don't need to bring the hood back down because right now we just need to bring both the arms back again because we're going to redress Luke in his duster, his cut-off duster. That's what all the Jedi the former Jedi are wearing these days. Let's see. Now, be really careful. One of the things that you might consider doing that I'm not doing here because I'm just dumb is to pull the hands off of the figure. The fingers have a tendency to snag on certain fabrics. I think I can make this one go up. I think. Oh, it's not even going in the armhole there. That was the problem. And yeah, see how easily that slides up? So no need to take the hands off with this figure unless you feel really, if that's the only way that you feel comfortable, then by all means go ahead and take the hands off. I'm going to spin this guy back around here so that we can make everything fall the way that it's supposed to. Yeah, look how it's just all kind of coming forward here, so I don't like that. Kind of bring those around. Let's see. Okay, so that's kind of where it needs to be. That's good news. So to get the poncho on, you have to pop the head off. And off it goes. It's a very difficult thing to do in some respects. And the hood has to come through the top of the poncho. So just kind of tug that through and get it to fall the way that it's supposed to. I think that it comes over to this side. Yeah. There we go. That's going to go down his arm. See that? And let's tuck that back down. Once you get that done, you got headless Luke. And this is tricky because you've got to be able to get this head in through the top of the shirt. And I didn't really have an issue with it here, I think. Yeah, went right in. Cool. Make that fall back. And done. Yeah, this bit right here is supposed to come all the way over on the other side. I had that misaligned, so to speak. I'm just gonna pull this hood up over his head just to give myself some more clearance and freedom of movement. But I think this line here needs to be on this shoulder. So let's rotate that and just ever so gently until it comes around. May need to just start fresh because I'm noticing that I'm not getting a lot of play when I move it. There we go, it's getting there. Yeah, we got this. All right, Luke. Thanks for working with me there, buddy. We may just be able to get this backpack on him in a way that's attractive, but maybe not. I don't know. It's just weird. I've seen the film. I see in the film that he actually has the backpack on while he's wearing this cloak, but it's hanging down very low. So you'd have to make some adjustments to the backpack, which I'm seeing now I can do. But I kind of feel like I shouldn't. I'm afraid that I'm going to break something. These little tiny D-rings here are very, very fragile. And quite honestly, I just don't feel like breaking my new figure here. I'm really fond of this guy. I've wanted to have him in my collection since day one. And unlike a lot of people, I'm really a big fan of this film. So let's just see if this works. We'll experiment together, and if not, we'll do what I did in the poser video and put the backpack beneath the cloak, which really, realistically, I mean, this thing while being a windbreaker layer, is also something of a, yeah, I'm just really, really nervous about this. I'll just move it back some more. Get those arms all the way back in an unnatural way. And try again to bring it up. Anyway, as I was saying, big fan of Last Jedi, big fan of this this vision of Luke Skywalker as sort of the Obi-Wan Kenobi, the disgruntled old hermit, disillusioned by his failures. Repetitive nature of these kind of tropes in Star Wars has become sort of a stock in trade, and Lucas established that long ago. So I can't blame Rian Johnson for wanting to pull that off in his own film. Yeah, this just isn't going to work. See how that's just getting caught up in there? And I could fuss with a little bit and see if it would fall down, but it's just not going to hang in a way that's attractive. This stand's just getting in my way. Okay, let me just mess with that a little bit. And the other thing that you run into if you try to put the backpack over the cloak is the potential to harm the fabric of the cloak, which I don't want to do. But for the sake of this pose, let's just go ahead and leave it. Because if you watch Last Jedi, and you go to the bit where he's walking from his hut up the mountain to where those little sea beasties live, where he gets the green milk, much to Rey's dismay. Then you'll notice that as he's walking up the hill, you can see this cloak with this backpack, and it's hanging down a bit more. So maybe if you wanted to take the time to actually take that backpack, loosen the straps, and have it dangling a little bit more, you might have a little bit more play in this bottom strap, enough where you can create just a nice little flowing effect with the poncho. And it's not terrible here at all. I mean, I think it's totally fine. But I might, in the long run, want to go another way. If you decide to go like this, if you think this is attractive, then great. I advise caution though, and I really advise loosening these straps a little bit. But anyway, that's in, that's on, that's where it needs to be. Okay, now I talked before about how I feel about Luke's journey when it comes to The Last Jedi and how on board I was with what Rian Johnson pulled off. I genuinely enjoy the whole notion of an old swordsman who failed in his duties, a Ronin, if you will. Because that's essentially what Skywalker has become in this film. He's become, I never really had a master, but he's just not really attached to anything at this point, no ideologies, just to cut himself off from his belief. He's a man who's lost faith in himself, in his religion, in everything. So we talked before about how extraordinary this portrait is, and it is very good. Having said that, when I think about classic samurai cinema, Akira Kurosawa, what have you, when I think of a wandering former swordsman, I think of them, being in hiding and all that entails. One of the things that you'll find is that if you're wanting to indicate that somebody's in hiding or somebody's having identity issues, then bring up that hood. It breaks the silhouette. If you were like, say for instance, Rey, and you were looking for this person, and you saw, while in the midst of your quest, you saw this figure, say, on a hill, he wouldn't be immediately recognizable because he's obscuring his identity, not necessarily hiding it, but obscuring it. So let's get that hood up. And I haven't decided yet. I think that I'm going to have him hanging his head, but we'll see. Got a few other things that I want to take care of first before I move into that. I want us to get this proper hand on, and I may switch the other hand out. I don't know yet. But I do want this hand on him Let's see how that's not all the way in. That just may not be able to go all the way in, I don't know. What I want to do is try to get this arm up far enough that he can be gripping this backpack. Because he does do that a fair bit. Let's see if I can get that on there. Yes. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now, I'm no artist, but I'm just hoping to convey some sort of message, some sort of drama here. And I think that this is going to be my viewing angle, so I'm going to want his head turned this way. Mostly because I want to see things like this bag. I want to kind of catch a corner of the backpack. But I also want that hood to be rearing up a little bit more. Let's see if I can pull that out. Yeah, there we go. Quite a bit of the hood had been tucked back down into the cloak. But again, I just want most of his face to be kind of obscured. Let's get this down here. Turn this head. And just kind of falling into... Wow, that's really hard. That arm just will not bend enough to make that look attractive. I think that if the... I think it might be awesome if the poncho was off of it. Let's just lift that up just a little bit more and see if I can't get more play in that sleeve to cover up that unsightly joint. Yeah, there we go. Kind of make it look like gravity's taking some sort of an effect on it. Okay. Now I'm not liking how this hood is falling, so I'm just going to futz with that a little bit. Since I turned the head, it just kind of became asymmetrical. And it's going to. That'll happen. So I'm just going to futz with the hood continuously as I make minor adjustments. Now I'm thinking that what I want to do here is just have him like he's heard something. He's disconnected from the Force, but let's just have him turning around like he's been walking in a certain direction, but he's heard something. He's sensed something. Even though he's disconnected from the Force, he's still like alert. Let's get this hand out. Ooh, I see that arm was just bent in a weird way. Glad I caught that. Now, do I want this hand in there? I was thinking about like this hand, because if he's rotating this way, then having that hand out like that would indicate like more action. But I think that's too much action. I think that's just too stylized, having that hand out like that. It's clearly meant to be a Force gesturing hand, but I was really just hoping to expand on that just a little bit. So let's have him looking up a little bit more. My original thought was that he would look dejected, but no, I don't think so. Not in this case. No, I'm going to break away this stand, or take the stand away rather, and start experimenting with walking. Yeah. Oh, cool. All right. But for this figure, you can do some cool action poses, and I'll show some in photography. But for this, I think I just want to have him hobo samurai in isolation, self-imposed exile on a faraway planet. There we go. Getting that hood right. This stand actually comes with an Ahch-To themed. It's really weird because it looks like this is meant to be vertical, but they've put it on the. They've used it as a sort of a base foundation. But if this was your jam, if you wanted to go ahead and have an Ahch-To theme going on there, then you certainly could. I want to lift this arm up just a touch. Not too much. I want it to be kind of relaxed. And a couple more tweaks. And I'll probably tweak this again before I photograph it. There we go. And I think that's got it. I think that's my pose. Not sure how that looks from above. We'll see it soon enough in photography. Let me know what you guys think about that, because I'm pretty fond of it actually. that might wind up being how it goes on my shelf with a few tweaks. Cool. Photo gallery coming up.
I know I've said it a lot here, and at the risk of sounding like I'm beating like a dead horse, I really, really love and appreciate this incarnation of Luke Skywalker and what they did with his journey. The call-outs to samurai culture and the tradition of drawing from samurai culture for the Jedi Knights continues nicely here. Even looking at that walking stick of his, it bears a striking resemblance to a Bo-Katan, and I can't help but feel like that's by design. The figure itself is a triumph in pretty much every way that matters to me, including a beautiful portrait, perfectly downsized tailoring, and quite a few accessories. That's about it. Obviously, I love this figure, but let me know what you think about it in the comments below, and until next time, be good to your plastic.
Hey, did you like that video? Be sure to subscribe by clicking the S icon on your screen, and click that bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is posted. If you'd like more info on the items featured in this video, click the link provided under Product Info. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to let your geek side show.